I want to talk about theatre. Theatre as a weapon for social change. About theatre as being political, that it's always political, because everything that anyone does is political. And when theatre tries not to be political, that's political. I also want to talk about theatre as essential for society, for a healthy society. So I'm going to be talking about some of my experiences as a theatre director and some of the projects that I've been doing. But I just have to say, I'm a little bit nervous because I'm a director, I'm not an actor. I'm kind of fish out of water at the moment because I'm used to doing workshops, not doing speeches. And I'm used to talking to actors, not to people. So what I want is, I want you to be my actors to make me feel a bit more comfortable. Don't worry, you don't have to say anything if you don't want to. You don't have to get out of your seat if you don't want to. All you have to do is warm up as actors.
Don't worry, you're doing fine.
Thank you. So, to do that, everyone put your right hand up in the air. Good. With your right hand, I want you to draw an X. And keep drawing that X. Good. And at the same time, with your left hand, I want you to draw a circle in the air. Draw a circle. Good, and relax. Good. You're all now actors. So I grew up in Adelaide. I went to a high school called Glenunga International High School. I thought it was a great school. I hated the school system. To kind of give a context to how I got here, I think I can pinpoint it down to 2004 in maths class with a horrible maths teacher where everyone wanted to leave. And I asked politely, "Can I please leave?" She said no. So I was sitting in my chair going, "I just want to leave." And I was having this strong internal desire to leave and this strong external pressure to stay, which I'd now call a conflicting objective. And what happened was the room was deadly silent, and all of a sudden I stood up. And I remember looking around me and going, shit, what have I just done? I just stood up. And I didn't know why. And when I was standing there looking at everyone else, I just started walking. I started walking out of the door, down the corridor, and 15 kilometres home. And it was really a turning point for me because I think the thing that I realised was that the walk was long and it was difficult. But the most difficult thing was just standing up in the first place. And it wasn't a noble stand-up or particularly courageous or ambitious or anything. I just stood up because I wanted to leave. And that's kind of how I got into directing. That me and a couple of mates wanted to create a street theatre ensemble highlighting the situation of David Hicks. And I just stood up to be artistic director of what then wasn't a company. And I started going around to people saying, yeah, I'm a director. And after that, they started giving me work as a director. So I started off doing a lot of street theatre projects, then moved into staged works and community settings. And I've just totally lost my train of thought. The interesting thing about theatre is sometimes you forget what you're about to say. Yeah, so I've done a range of different things, particularly with communities. I've worked with people with disabilities, done children's theatre in India, worked in prisons with kids in Unley, a whole range of different things. But it's the work that I do in prisons that's, for me, really interesting. The way I see theatre, it has a lot to do with the boxes in our head. That as we kind of go on our lives, we get these boxes in our head that can contain concepts. And those boxes are labelled with things like family, refugees, love, theatre, community. All these different things are boxes of concepts in our head. And in those boxes are these items. And those items are our experiences and our understanding of those concepts. To me, theatre is about opening those boxes, looking inside at what we have inside those boxes and starting to throw out the things that we don't need and put in the things that we do need. I'll give you an example. Working in prisons, children's prisons. For some reason, in Adelaide, we have 2 youth prisons. It's places where kids between the ages of 12 and 20, for whatever reason, are in these prisons. It's an example where the boxes in our head are too often so tightly shut that we're literally locking people away into this concept of criminal. I did this workshop once where I walked into the room, there were 8 boys, and when I'm in there, I'm just doing theatre games. And I walked in and there was one kid that was standing there staring at me. thought, okay, this is going to be interesting. I started explaining what we were going to do, and he just stood there. And he goes, I'm not fucking doing it, let's fucking go. Okay, sit out and watch. So we sat out, I explained it to the rest of the kids, and they started doing the games, and they were enjoying it. And I could see out of the corner of my eye, he was watching us and smiling, and slowly coming back towards the group. And he got in, and he was laughing and smiling, and he was happy. He had to see other people enjoy it before he could jump into the group. So I think for him, that moment was this experience of the concept of engagement, of school. We added in the item of fun. For me, the really profound thing that I got out of it was this concept of criminal, and adding into that the concept of a child, an innocent child. I think that's the experience of theatre. As an artist, as a participant, as an audience member, we're opening these boxes and we're able to see different aspects of society that we would not normally see. So, I want to talk a bit about a particular style of theatre that I'm really interested in called forum theatre. Forum theatre started with a Brazilian director, Augusto Boal, working in the 60s with peasant farmers in an extremely oppressive situation where he would create these heroic plays that often ended in a big song and dance number where the actors would hold up their wooden guns and cry, "Let's spill blood for the revolution." And it was hugely successful. He toured it all around, and it was so successful that one day one of the audience members came up to him afterwards and said, "That was great." And Boal was proud and he said, "Thank you." And the man said, "Let's start this revolution, let's spill blood." And he went, "Yeah, do it, yeah." And he said, "No, let's do it." And Boal said, "Oh, no, these guns, they're wooden." And the man said, "No, we've got guns." And he went, "Oh, sorry, we're actors. We don't fight." And then the man understood and he said, "So when you say let's spill blood, you mean spill our blood." And he walked off. And it was this pivotal moment for Boal, and I think it's really important that he stopped asking other people what he wasn't prepared to do himself. So he started to develop this style of theatre called forum theatre, where the actors present the problems and the audience come up with the solutions. Basically what happens in traditional narrative, we have the start, the exposition, goes to a conflict, and then there's a resolution at the end. So James Bond is in UK, parachutes over to North Korea, climbs a mountain, fights Dr. Evil, disarms the bomb, sleeps with Moneypenny at the end. The audience go in, they enjoy it, they get tense, it gets resolved, they walk out and they go, "Phew, I didn't have to do anything. That was great. I just watched someone else solve all the world's problems." In forum theatre, what happens is you explore a particular social issue. So it might be homophobia, homelessness, racism, something like that. You have the exposition, the characters, you have the complication, and then the play stops. It stops at a moment of crisis, an anti-image, where everything is going wrong. And you stop the play, and you go back to the start. And there will be a facilitator of the play, and the facilitator will say something like, "Okay, we've just seen this play that's ended in a bad situation. It's ended in this bad situation because the characters don't know how to deal with the situation." The facilitator will invite the audience to come up with the solutions if they can see a moment where they can do something better, or at least less worse than the characters on stage. So what the facilitator will say is, "Before we show this again, I want everyone to put your right hand up in the air." Everyone do that? Right hand up in the air. Put your right hand forward and say stop. Stop. Good. And again, louder. 1, 2, 3, stop. Good. And really loud. 1, 2, 3, stop. Good. That's what the facilitator will explain. It'll take the performance back to the start, and they'll show it again. And at any time, any one of the audience members can yell out stop. They'll come on stage, they'll replace one of the characters, and they'll try something out differently, which sometimes works, it sometimes doesn't. But it always comes from the audience. Now, this is a technique that I've been using with the Legal Services Commission and ActNow Theatre for Social Change to develop legal education about behavioural change around rape and sexual assault, which sounds full-on, but it is full-on. So what we do is we present this situation, ends in a really bad place, we show it once to high school kids, we take it back to the start, we show it the second time. And the high school kids they always do, yell out stop. At different moments, they come up on stage and they present their ideas for solutions. And we always learn from them. The most intelligent, creative solutions are the ones that we didn't expect. Yeah? because we're not experts in solutions. We research the problems, we present the problems. The audiences are the ones that are the experts. So, why am I saying this? Because the box in your head that contains the idea of theatre may well contain this notion of purple rinse, middle-class, pseudo-intellectual, leftist old people. It's not always that. There is some really exciting theatre that's created by young people that has actual action and has impact. So theatre is, I said, it's vitally essential to society. It's comparable to the rear left wheel of a car. In the context of all the great things that we've heard today, theatre is one of them. Yeah? It's not the be-all and end-all, but it's one of them. And without that rear left wheel, the car doesn't operate. So, theatre, like many other things, if you don't have access to it, you should demand it. Yeah? You should demand good quality theatre. And if you demand it and you don't get it, then you should stand up and make it yourself, like many other things. Thank you.